Hi elementary kids, it's teacher Tina. Hope you guys all had a great week and hope you guys enjoyed the Sunday school lesson that you just watched. I'm here to do a little lesson review with you, so hopefully you guys paid close attention to the lesson and that our review today will help you to remember everything that you learned. So what did we learn about in our lesson today? How about Nolan? Can you answer that one for me? That's right, we learned about the Day of Atonement. So all throughout this month, we've learned about sacrifices, the priesthood, the tabernacle, and how God established all of these things so that His holy presence can dwell with His people. And in today's lesson, we learned about a very special day called the Day of Atonement. And this was a day that happened how many times a year? Once a year. And it was a time for all the people of Israel to be forgiven and cleansed of their sins. Does anyone remember what the word atonement means? Atonement means for our sins to be paid for and washed away by the blood of a sacrifice. And so on the Day of Atonement, the high priest would take animals and sacrifice them for the forgiveness of sins. Now, to review more, let's talk a little bit about what exactly the high priest did during the Day of Atonement. Do you guys remember the first thing the high priest had to do? How about Ian? What do you think? What do you remember? That's right. The high priest first had to prepare himself. He had to wash himself and he had to wear humble linen clothing so that he can enter into God's holy presence in the Holy of Holies. And after he carefully prepared himself, what did he do? He offered up sacrifices for himself as well as for the people of Israel. So he would take bulls, goats, rams, and sacrifice them and take the blood and sprinkle it in the Holy of Holies for the atonement of sins. And is that all he did? Do you guys remember if there's anything else that the high priest had to do? How about Jeremiah? What do you think? That's right. The high priest did something different to another animal. So there was a goat, which was a live goat, and the high priest would take the goat, lay his hands on top of the goat, and confess all of Israel's sins onto the goat and cast the goat into the wilderness. And that was a sign that all of Israel's sins that were prayed for on the goat were also carried away. So the Day of Atonement, like we talked about, was a day that happened once a year. Do you guys know why the people of Israel had to practice the Day of Atonement year after year? How about Priscilla? Do you remember? That's correct. So the Day of Atonement was not enough to take away the sins of Israel completely. Even though the people of Israel received cleansing and forgiveness of their sins, they would still sin against God and disobey Him. And so they had to constantly offer up these animal sacrifices for the forgiveness of sins. And as an illustration, I want us to think about our physical bodies. Now, what do we do to keep our bodies clean? We brush our teeth. What else do we do? We take showers, we wash our hair, we take soap and we wash our bodies, we wash our faces, and after we feel so fresh and so clean. But what happens the next day when we wake up, when we go outside to play? We get dirty again, right? So we have to brush our teeth again, wash our hair, wash our bodies, and we have to do that every single day to keep clean. And in the same way, our hearts become dirty with sin every single day. Would you agree? I know my heart certainly gets dirty with sin, and I'm sure yours does too. And that's why we need forgiveness and cleansing all the time. But let me ask you, how do we receive cleansing and forgiveness of our sins? Do we practice the Day of Atonement like Israel did? Do we offer up animal sacrifices so that we can be forgiven? The answer is no. And do you guys know why? It's because Jesus fulfilled the Day of Atonement by becoming the ultimate sacrifice for our sins. Jesus was the perfect sacrifice, and he died in our place so that our sins, past, present, and future, would be completely cleansed and completely forgiven through his perfect blood. And because of Jesus' sacrifice, we can enjoy a relationship with God forever. Isn't that great news? Jesus is truly, truly awesome. I hope that this lesson today about the Day of Atonement helped you to understand our need for forgiveness and cleansing from sin, but that ultimately everything that you learned today would point you to Jesus, who is the true atonement for our sins, because through his sacrifice we can be forgiven and cleansed once and for all. Well, that's it for my lesson review. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you guys take time to talk about this with your mom and dad. We miss you guys very much, and we're praying for you, and we hope that all of you guys have a great week.